on these types of word problems, I know that I'm going to need two equations, so I'm always going to be looking for two relationships when reading these questions. So question 4 says a class of 195 students went on a field trip. They took 7 vehicles, some cars, and some buses. Find the number of cars and the number of buses they took if each car holds 5 students and each bus holds 45 students. So from this, I know the question is asking me to find the number of cars and the number of buses they took. My first relationship will be that they took 7 vehicles total, some cars, and some buses. And then my second relationship would be that each car holds 5 students and each bus holds 45 students, to know that they took a total of 195 students. So then I'll be able to look at what I need to do for each problem. So part A would be to define the variables. When I define the variables, I can use X and Y, which is common in what we're used to, or I could use like C being the number of cars, and B being the number of buses. Now I'm going to need to write the system of equations. So if I look at the relationship highlighted in yellow, it says, or in green, it says they took 7 vehicles, some cars, some buses. So I know the total is 7 vehicles. So I have a certain number of cars plus a certain number of buses. So C plus B equals 7. Now I need to look at the relationship highlighted in blue. It says they took 195 students total. Each car held 5 students and each bus held 45 students. So if they took 195 students total, I need to know 5 students times the number of cars plus 45 times the number of buses, B. Now I use substitution or elimination to solve. I'm going to use elimination on this problem. And to do that, I am going to multiply the first equation by -5 because I want to cancel out the C's in this equation. So this is what I'm highlighting. I want to cancel those out. And I'll do that by multiplying the entire first equation by -5. And I'll copy that underneath to get -5C minus 5B equals -35. Now I will just add these two equations and solve for B. I quickly did this because I know I can cancel out the zeros here, and then 16 goes into 4 times. Now from this, I also need to find how many cars. So I'm going to substitute this 4 here and for B into this first equation we wrote. So C plus 4 equals 7 to get C equals 3. So they took 3 cars and 4 buses for a total of 195 students. I can check this by substituting in 4 and 3 for C and B in both equations. So 3, here's my check over here. 3 plus 4 equals 7. That checks. And then 5 times 3 plus 45 times 4 equals 195. I've got 15 plus 160 plus 20 is 180 equals 195. 15 plus 180 is 195. So those both check. So now it says state your solution in sentence form. So that would look something like on the field trip, they took 3 cars and 4 buses. So problem 5 here says a farmhouse shelters 11 animals. Some are goats and some are ducks. Altogether, there are 34 legs. How many of each animal are there? So, some important information would be that they have goats and ducks. Now, I need to find my 2 relationships. One of them would be that there's 11 animals total, so I would think that would be related to the goats and the ducks. And then the second one would be altogether there are 34 legs. So I'm going to start with A by defining my variables. I'm going to say G is the number of goats and D is the number of ducks. Part B would be to write the system. I'm going to say the easier part for me would be just knowing that they have 11 total animals. So a certain number of goats plus a certain number of ducks equals 11. Now this with the legs is the same as the problem we did before, saying that ducks have 2 legs, goats have 4 legs. So 4 times however many numbers of goats plus 2 times however many of ducks would give us that total of 34 legs, because I've got 2 legs for ducks and 4 for goats. Now I'm going to work on solving this. And I'm going to use elimination on this problem. So I'm going to recopy them here, and I'll have G plus D equals 11 and 4G plus 2D equals 34. I'm going to eliminate the D here, just because multiplying by 2 is much smaller than multiplying by 4. And I will do that by multiplying this by a -2 because I want them to cancel and they need to be opposites. So that will look like -2G minus 2D equals -22. And then I add straight down. 4 plus -2 gives me a 2G. The D's will cancel here, equals 12. G will equal 6, so there will be 6 goats. Then I'll plug that into the first equation, G for that, and I'll have 6 plus D equals 11. D equals 5 when I minus 6 from both sides. Lastly, I will check here. So my check I'll do over here, and into the first equation I'll put a 6 for G. 6 plus 5 for D equals 11. 11 equals 11. That checks. And then 4 times 6 plus 2 times 5 equals 34. Got 24 plus 10 equals 34, and 34 equals 34. That checks as well. All I was doing here was taking the 6 for the G and substituting it in, and the 5 for the D and substituting it in over here and working it out. Then the last part, D, says to state your solution in a sentence form. So how many of each animals are there? There are 6 goats. Six goats and 5 ducks at the farmhouse. There you go. This last problem states Molly's Custom Kitchen Supplies sells handmade forks and spoons. It costs the store $1.70 to buy the supplies to make a fork and $1.30 to buy the supplies to make a spoon. The store sells forks for $5.60 and spoons for $5.40. Last April, Molly's Custom Kitchen Supplies spent $37.90 on materials for forks and spoons. They sold the finished products for a total of $147.20. How many forks and how many spoons did they make last April? So I'm going to start by highlighting my first relationship. The first one I see is that it takes $1.70 to buy the supplies to make the fork and $1.30 to buy the supplies to make a spoon. This is then also related down to how much they spent on materials for forks and spoons. So it says when they cost the store to make them, that's what the cost of the materials is. Then the second relationship would be how much they sell it for, which is $5.60 for forks and $5.40 for spoons to make a to sell the finished products and make a total of $147.20. So when I define my variables for part A, I have F equals the number of forks and S equals the number of spoons. When I'm writing my system, I'm going to first look at the relationship highlighted in green. That's going to look something like the cost of the forks plus the cost of the number of spoons equals how much they spent. So it's going to be equal to $37.90. Now, the cost of the spoons to make a spoon was $1.30. So they're equal to $37.90. And I have $1.30 to buy supplies to make a spoon. So $1.30 S plus $1.70 to buy the supplies to make a fork. So plus $1.70 F equals $37.90. Then we're going to do the same thing for what they sell it for. So it'll be $5.40 S plus $5.60 F, it's right here, is equal to what they made, which was $147.20. For this problem, I am going to use elimination again, but I'm going to have to be very, very careful when I'm doing multiplication. So I'm going to start this by eliminating the S's. Now, I will do that by multiplying them by the opposite. So the bottom equation I'll multiply by $1.30, and the top equation I'll multiply by 540, but a negative 540. Because when I multiply them by each other, they'll get the same number. But then I'll do opposites because I need one of them to be negative. So a negative 540 times $1.30 gives me 702S, or a negative 702S, plus a negative 9.18 is equal to 37 times negative 5.4, which gives me a negative 204.66. Then the second line, I will get a positive 702S. I forgot my F up here. Plus 7.28F because I multiplied 130 times 560, and that is equal to 147.2 times 1.3, which gives me 191.36. Now I will add here. These will cancel. I will add negative 9.18 plus 7.28, which will give me negative 1.9F is equal to negative 204.66 plus 191.36 gives me negative 13.3. Then I'll divide both sides by negative 1.9, divide by negative 1.9 to give me F equals 7. From here, I'm going to substitute that into the first equation, so I'll have 1.3s plus 1.7 times 7 equals 3790. You can choose either equation. I just chose the top one because it had smaller numbers. So I have 1.3s plus 1.7 times 7 gives me 11.9. It's equal to 3790. I'll minus 11.9 from both sides. And that'll give me 1.3s is equal to 26. Then I'm going to divide by 1.3 to get s equals 20. Now, I'm going to check these two. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite it, and then I'm going to type it all into my calculator and check it. So the check looks like this over here. I've got 1.3 times 20 plus 1.7 times 7 equals 3790. 1.3 times 20 is 26 plus 1.7 times 7 that equals 11.9. Add those together. 3790 equals 3790. Those check. Then I'll do it for the second equation. So I'll multiply 5.4 times 20 to get 108 plus 5.6 times 7 to get 39.2 equals 147.20, $147.20. Add those together, and that will give me a total of 147.20 equals 147.20. Those check. For part D, the state your solution in sentence form. It wants to know how many forks and how many spoons did they make last April. So that sentence will look like they made 20 spoons and 7 forks last April.